official. Our trip is ruined. Kidding.
Buenos dias! We're Madison and Ivan, and today's mad adventure is exploring Chichen Itza. We're spending a month living in Cancun, and booking a Chichen Itza tour from Cancun would definitely have been the easiest thing to do. I'm sure those tours can be pleasant, but the thought of spending 6 hours in a bus in one day just to be rushed through the ruins with a big group of people sounded miserable to us. Instead, we took an ADO bus to the beautiful town of Valladolid yesterday, putting us just 45 minutes from Chichen Itza this morning. Side note, this town is seriously so cute. Check it out in our last 2 videos and plan to visit there when you head to the Yucatan. The plan is to beat the crowds, so we woke up at 7:30 this morning, grabbed coffee and snacks at the closest convenience store, hopped in a taxi, and now we are starting the journey to my very first of the 7 wonders of the world. We made it to Chichen Itza! We paid around $25 a person for general admission tickets and got in line for security, but
You're not allowed to bring tripods here. Well, you're not allowed to bring mics here. You're not allowed to bring food here. We just got a locker. It was only 50 pesos, luckily, so really not too big of a bummer. So now we're hopefully gonna be able to enter Chichen Itza, no problem. We're about to see. Take 2 turned out pretty well. We are walking right now in Chichen Itza towards the great temple. And now we don't have a backpack, we are back free, which I know Ivan is probably kind of grateful for.
holy cow, that is it! The town of Chichen Itza was started between 400 and 600 AD, so it is around 1,500 years old. This place was bumpin' in its day. At its height, it was home to over 50,000 people.
We are at the temple of Kukulkan. The Itza people would make pilgrimages here to pray to the rain gods and likely pay homage to their Itza ancestors. So tourists of that day came here as well.
This structure, known as El Castillo, or the Temple of Kukulkan, was built between the 9th and 12th century, and it is so wild the amount of detail and symbolism put into it. For example,
And this echo that you hear when you clap is like the exact same sound as this majestic holy bird.
Kukulkan was a feathered serpent god who was a creator, bringer of rain, windstorms, and life. This temple has beautiful serpents at the base of the main entrance, and twice a year during the spring and fall equinox, the sun hits it just right, and it appears as if these are the heads of a serpent that is slithering down the temple sides. It has 364 stairs total, and the platform on the top makes 365 for the days in the year.
How fit were the people back then that they were able to climb those incredibly steep stairs with no railings on either side?
The Mayan calendar also has 18 months, so there are 18 tiers on each of the 4 sides of the pyramid. And there are 52 rectangular panels on the sides of the pyramid, which corresponds with the Mayan ritual calendar. Historians believe Mayans rebuilt their monuments every 52 years following this calendar, which leads us to Templeception. There is a temple inside this temple. We are looking at a 3-in-1, folks.
Welcome to the BALLCOURT. You ready to ball? Really not, because if you lose this game, you will probably be decapitated. So this is the Mayan Pogba. There are thousands of them spread out throughout Mesoamerica because they were actually a very big part of the culture here of both the religious aspect and like the judge and jury. Like, you screw up, you're going to be playing football. This is the largest one in Mesoamerica, the largest ball court. It is 2.2 times the size of an American football field, and it sounds like it was a combination of football, basketball, and soccer. Because you're wearing your football pads, except you get every player had like a different headdress that was like specific to who he was. You know, you kind of like in wrestling. Wow, we got more things. Basketball, the hoops on each side that you were trying to get it through. But like soccer, you were trying to get it through those hoops without using your hands. Honestly, kind of sounds like it could be a pretty fun game, other than the decapitation aspect. I don't see any here, but a lot of the ball courts, you can still find the remains and the skulls of the losers who were decapitated.
The game was called Pits, and it was played with a 20-pound rubber ball. And the pads they were wearing were made of wood or leather. It is so hot here, I cannot imagine.
We have already had, this is a 1.5 liter of water that we have already almost finished, and we've been here probably an hour or less. This is the Hall of Fame.
All right, so I am on one side of the stadium here against the south wall, and Madison, you're not gonna be able to see her, she's on the other side, on the north wall, and we're gonna test out this acoustically perfect setup they have going on here. So she's gonna make a noise and we're gonna see if we can hear her. Hello! Oh, we heard her! I can hear you from 2 football stadiums away! Wow. Love you too!
Forget the expenses of an expensive PA system when you are building a stadium. This is insane, the acoustic perfection. A referee could stand over there and announce the score to the people 2.2 football fields away. That's insane, that's mind-blowing. So up there is the Temple of the Jaguar, which is a pretty sick name for the club suite where the nobles would watch the game, overlooking the Wall of Skulls, where they would display decapitated human heads on like a wooden spike, like stacked on top of each other. It was both a memorial and a place used to intimidate people, to follow rules, to intimidate approaching people that might be coming to attack. It was said to have had a lot of the players who were decapitated from the ball court displayed as well. And we had showed you earlier where the people could see, the royals and nobles could see both. So through the little fancy club suite where they were sitting, they could also look out the back and see all of the skulls on display. That's awesome. This is the Temple of Venus, and Venus was a very big part of the Mayan calendar. That's the planet that they tracked to figure out the year, to figure out and plan when the rituals will happen, when the farming practices will happen. So Venus is a pretty big deal. Oh, this cenote is way dirtier than the ones we've been swimming in. So we have made it to the sacred cenote. The ancient Mayans would make sacrifices to Chak, the rain god, who is believed to live at the bottom.
They would also make sacrifices to the gods of the underworld here to communicate with their ancestors. These sacrifices were of precious jewelry and ornaments and humans.
So Chichen Itza actually means at the mouth of the well of Itza, referring to the well is referring to this cenote. Actually what this place is named after. Everybody looks at that big Castillo, but this is it. This is the Temple of the Warriors. There's a giant chalk mole, which is where they would do a lot of sacrifices to the gods. And the most popular sacrifice here was to place the beating heart of a human sacrifice for all to see.
We are at the Temple of 1,000 columns, and I know that because I counted. Just kidding, I didn't count. There are a lot of columns here. This was used for civic and religious purposes, and if you can imagine, on top of all the pillars, there'd be like a grass or thatched roof.
We are incredibly hot and sweaty, but after searching for an extremely long time and making a couple circles, we have found the observatory where the Mayans studied the stars, the planets, mostly Venus, to track what's going on, to track seasons, to track equinoxes, and to figure out, I mean, we talk about the Mayan calendar. This was a place where that was partially developed. And this place was built around 900 AD. So this is where some of the nobility lived. So we finally found a house, we finally found an area where people actually live. And then over here is what the Spanish named the church. But the church is one of the oldest buildings here at Chichen Itza. Oh, and we don't really know what the whole information is about why they're here, but look at these faces and the noses that are carved in. They're so fun. We're about to leave, and this is just so much more crowded than it was when we got here. All of the tour buses have arrived. We were dragging our feet getting up this morning, but it was worth it that we avoided these crowds. Highly recommend going early if you can. And I recommend going by yourself. Buy a tour guide at the front if you want, but it was very cool to take our time going through and actually seeing each and everything. It was a wonderful time at one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Hope you had a Mayan tea good time exploring Chichen Itza with us. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Join us next week back in Cancun. And until then, live your own mad venture.